Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are enjoying my videos, please consider liking and subscribing. I appreciate all of you, and let's get into the video. In this one, I wanted to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles, and I actually had someone comment. I hope you don't mind, I'll put a screenshot of your comment in here, give you a little shout out, and about ranking the games and also like where you should start in the games. And I took a few notes on my phone, so if you see me looking down, that is why. This is a complex answer, and I'm gonna start with like how you should play before I go into ranking the games. So I think how you should play depends on what you care about the most. If you care about the gameplay and the graphics and like the ease of use the most, then you should definitely start with Xenoblade 3. Like if you're thinking, okay, I don't like, when graphics are outdated, or I don't like because with 1 and 2, you kind of have to look up sometimes tutorials for how to play the game. Whereas 3, I think really like tells you these are the steps. It makes it really easy to get into, which I thought they did a really good job with. I would say definitely start with 3, because you can always go back. They don't, even though like you might get some minor spoilers, they won't spoil the big plot changes in the games if you start with 3. Like I actually started with 2, and even though like I had a few spoilers, 1 still surprised me a lot. So they do a really good job with that. So if you think like, and the way I see it is, I would much rather you like play all the games and like start with 3 and like understand the combat and get into it, than start with 1 and be like, oh, I don't, or 2 and be like, I don't get the combat, so I'm just not gonna play them. You know what I mean? So I would say if gameplay is your biggest thing, or like ease of use or graphics, start with 3. If you really want like absolutely no spoilers, you're really into like the story and the plot, and even though I know they updated it, you don't mind older graphics, and you don't mind sometimes having to research the combat. Say start with Xenoblade 1 Definitive Edition, because like I said, I started with 2, which you can do, but you will get a few minor spoilers. At the same time, when I started with 2, I did get more intrigued by 1, but yeah, I think if I were like if I was going to do it over again, because 1 was not on the Switch at the time, I would start with 1. Just because again, then you won't have any spoilers. There's a couple things that I was not as surprised by at the end. I was still very interested, and there was a lot I learned that I was curious about from 2, but yeah. So I would say story, start with 1, ease of use, start with 3. Should you start with 2? I would say now that all 3 are on the Switch, I wouldn't recommend it. At the same time, I did it, so I would say it can be done. If you decide to start with 2, I would do 2, then 1, then 3, because 3 is kind of a sequel to 1 and 2 more than 2 is to 1, if that makes any sense. It probably is a little confusing. So to make a very long story short, probably start with 3 if you care about gameplay and ease of use the most. Start with 1 if you care about story the most. Start with 2 if you just like chaos. That would be my guide for that. I hope that helped. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments and I'll answer, or I can make another video depending on how in-depth the question is. But now getting into the ranking of Xenoblade Chronicles. Okay, so this is going to be very subjective, and I'm sure people will disagree with me. So if you disagree with me, just know I would love to hear your opinion, so tell me, because I actually really enjoy like hearing other points of view. But also, like, obviously I'm not saying this like it's a fact. It's just my opinion of the ranking. So yeah, feel free to disagree with me. Just know that I'm not saying I know more than anyone else or anything like that. This is just kind of for fun. So for me, I would say in terms of like the story, the plot twists, um, kind of the characters, honestly, two is my favorite. I don't know if this is partially because it was the first one I played, so I didn't have any expectations going in. I had no spoilers. I was just really amazed by the game. I was amazed by the story and the complex characters, and you can watch I have a video with a little bit more information about my view of the characters, if you want to watch it. But yeah, I really liked how complex the villains were, and all of them had like not just good reasons, but like really interesting backstories. The good guys obviously also had really interesting backstories. There was no character where I go, wow, there's no reason for them to be there. Do you know what I mean? And the story, like in 2, there was just something about, I know that the beginning is slow, but when you get to, let's see, it was chapter 7 or 8, something like that. So obviously it picks up before then. It's like 4 or 5 where it really picks up. But by 7 or 8, it got to the point where I couldn't stop playing the game. Like, I was so curious to know what was going to happen. I was so intrigued. They paced it very, very well towards the middle and the end, which is why it's so unfortunate the beginning is so slow, because I think so many people are missing out at the middle of the end of the game. And once you get the combat down too, it's just it's amazing. I loved it. I don't really want to give spoilers to what happens in 2, but just it's so good. So good. So for world building, you ranked it with the very first as number 1, because you can really tell that this was like the beginning of the original idea. So like there's so many inventive like types of characters, if that makes sense. Like the Telethia are really inventive. There's inventive worlds, and even though the graphics are older, I think they really thought it out. And like the 2 titans are very well thought out, and sort of the world, without spoilers, the world is very, very good. 2 is really close, a really close second. It's kind of the same for me. And then 3, and I don't want to get into spoilers of why I think that, because I made this for someone who's trying to get into the games, but if you guys want a more in-depth one with spoilers, let me know and I'll make it. So, and then gameplay, I'm ranking it 3 by far is the best gameplay wise, in terms of not necessarily like once you get the flow going in the mechanics, but more like the beginning and really understanding the gameplay. Because in 1 and 2, sometimes it took me really far into the game to learn something, and so I wasn't like using it right, or I was having to like trick the game kind of to get past certain bosses, like wear a certain accessory or whatever. And so yeah, I think 3 is by far the best in gameplay and easing you into the gameplay and getting used to the gameplay. And also like the way that you can use, like, what was it, 5 characters or 6 characters at once. The ease of changing their class, and also like getting these side characters that you could like change your main characters into their class and switch in the side characters was really cool. And I think above and beyond the other 2. I put 1 next. The gameplay is very different in 1 from 2 and 3. At least to me it was. I mean, actually 3 does combine some of the elements, but I guess 1 and 3 are more similar, or 2 and 3, than 1 and 2, if that makes sense. But yeah, the gameplay in 1 is solid, and I think it's explained better. I guess I really made this in terms of explanation more than anything, because I just think it is a bit complicated, so you're not going to enjoy it if you don't get it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I would say 1 is next, and then 2. And again, 2's gameplay is really fun, But I remember when I started that game, I had to look up like YouTube tutorials on how to play the gameplay. So while that's not like the end of the world, I just don't know if everyone's gonna want to do that. I do think if you start with 3 and then play 2, you will have a much easier time getting into it, and I don't think it'll be an issue. But 2 just didn't explain it well. Though Torna, if you included Torna, then 2 might be ranked higher on this gameplay list because the DLC for 2 is called Torna, and it was like very good. So, and it's the reason I include it, or when I'm talking about it, is it's like its own 30 to 40 hour, well, I guess it depends on the person. I play games slow. For me, it was 30-hour story. I'm sure some people it was like 20. Should I play Torna, or how should I do that? I guess I should add that as well. So what I would do is play Torna after you've played 2. So whether you play 2 first, or you play 2 in the middle, or you play 2 last for somehow. I guess 2 could be last if you started with 3. So let's say you play 2 last. No matter where you play it, just play Torna right after you play 2. Because Torna gives you a lot of backstory to 2 that you'll probably be wondering when you finish it. That you wouldn't really want to like go from 2 to 3 and then play Torna, because it would just be very jarring, if that makes sense. So yeah, I hope this helped you guys out. If you have any other Xenoblade Chronicles requests, please let me know, because I really enjoy talking about these games. They're like some of my favorite games, and so it's like, it's fun to connect with you guys on it. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. Consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you in the next video.